Okay, let's talk about a drill I like to call inside-outside tees. This is, still pretty fundamental and basic. Maybe it's getting a little bit more advanced, but this is an exercise that you can do with any kid because regardless of what level they're at, pitches aren't always going to come down the middle. Some are going to be a little bit more on the inside part of the plate. Some are going to be a little bit more on the outside part of the plate, and they need to have an understanding that that's going to be a reality of batting, and they're going to have to be able to make very small adjustments to figure out how to bring the barrel of the bat either to the inside part of the plate or to the outside part of the plate. So I got these two sticks on the ground here. Have some sticks or some bats. It's always a good reference to help kids understand how things work. And if you can see this stick, it kind of travels along the line of home plate and shoots right down the third baseline. If you look at this stick, it kind of travels along this side of the plate and shoots towards the first baseline. Now, setting our players up so they can just hit down the middle with the tee in the middle is fairly simple. We got to help them understand what happens on an inside pitch. And on an inside pitch, we have to help them see that they can't get too extended with their lead arm. If they get too extended with their lead arm, then the handle of the bat is going to be kind of covering the inside part of the plate. They're going to get jammed. It's going to hurt. They're not going to want to swing. They're going to get real defensive and just start praying for a walk. So what we want to do with the inside pitch for this drill is we want to use this line as our kind of guiding point where we stand with our toes along here, and we're still hitting into this net right here. We're not going to be hitting a pitch up the middle so it goes down the third base line. We're going to set up our tee, not necessarily in line with our feet. We got to move the tee kind of outward so it simulates what an inside pitch will actually be. So, from the toes going out 6, 8, maybe 10 inches. And what we're getting them to understand here is that you can't attack an inside pitch by physically stepping out in order to get the barrel to the baseball. That's not going to work. Maybe with a really slow pitcher and maybe at some of the lower levels when kids are just learning how to pitch and hit. But generally, as they kind of advance in age groups, moving up higher levels of competitiveness, you're striding straight towards the pitcher all the time, and there's not much of an adjustment you can make other than minute ones, a millimeter or a centimeter, or landing with your foot a little bit more closed or a foot a little bit more open. On this one, maybe they're landing with their foot a little bit more open to give their hips a little bit of a head start. But the idea with this drill is, rather than being right up here with it, we got to be a little bit deep, because obviously the point of contact on an inside pitch, we need to catch it a little bit more out front. We need to ensure that our arms don't get too extended and we end up turning around this way at the baseball. So you're a little bit deeper, pitch is a little bit away from the body on the inside corner, and we're ensuring that the kid strides forward, if at all. Maybe you want to put a bit of a restriction on them so they can't even stride and their feet are just kind of in place. And all we're trying to do is hit a pitch into the center of the screen without bailing out and without getting our arms too extended. On the swing, it's a little bit more of a tight turn to get to that inside pitch. All right, now for an outside pitch, for me as a lefty, I'm going to think about the first base line as being what guides my feet to kind of stay on that line. For an outside pitch, we are not staying so tight with the turn. We got to understand that that lead arm is probably likely to get a little bit more extended as we get into our swing. We got to let the ball get a little bit deeper. We can't be attacking an outside pitch out front. Any inside pitch, yeah, for sure, we want to get the barrel out front of our hand so we can attack that pitch on the inside corner. But an outside pitch, we're not trying to get it out front. We're letting that ball travel a little bit deeper, and actually at contact, our hands are going to be a little bit ahead of the barrel and a little bit ahead of the baseball. So we got to think more about depth as that pitch kind of comes in. Maybe on this one, rather than our lead foot kind of being more opened up, which is going to give more room and more space for our hips to open up and thus bring the barrel kind of out front, this is more a matter of keeping that lead foot maybe a little bit closed, toe kind of still pointed more towards home plate, which will encourage our hips to kind of not open up so far, not open up to the point where we're encouraging the swing to come to the center or the inside part of the plate. So on this one, it's a setup here. Again, ball kind of in the middle of the body, and we're thinking a little bit more about depth, and we're thinking about at contact. The hands are probably going to get a little bit ahead of the baseball and the barrel.